To my CSUB family and a rousing welcome home for two special members of our family, Presidents Emeriti Dr. Horace Mitchell and Dr. Lynnette Zelezny. Before we get to that celebration, I would like to acknowledge with gratitude that our beautiful campus is the traditional territory of the Katahnawak people of the Tohono tribe, a place their nation has called home since time immemorial. We promise to be conscientious stewards of this land for the generations that follow us, and to continue the work we have begun to return their sacred ancestors and cultural artifacts to the sovereign nations of our tribal elders. Nearly 1 year ago, President Zelezny delivered her final commencement address of her long and illustrious career. In that stirring address, she quoted a poem by Henry Watson Longfellow that I believe perfectly captures the magnitude of this occasion. He wrote, "Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time." We are here today to honor three presidents who left their footprints on the sands of time. Each of these leaders defined his or her own era here at CSUB, and each one blazed a trail for others to follow. When Dr. Tomás Arciniega came to Cal State Bakersfield in 1983, he was the first Latino in the history of the CSU to be appointed as president. Yet that deserves a round of applause. Dr. Arciniega was our longest serving president and presided over an incredible change during the 21 years of his leadership. It was under his watch that Cal State Bakersfield went from a state college to a state university. And we also have Dr. Arciniega to thank for insisting that our nickname would be CSUB, not CSUB. As some folks at the time were advocating, Dr. Mitchell knows. But perhaps his greatest legacy is one that lives on to this day. When Dr. Arciniega arrived here, fewer than 10% of our roadrunners identified as Hispanic. In a region with a large and vibrant Hispanic population, that disparity troubled him. And so he got to work immediately, hiring more Latinos and Latinas as faculty and staff, and reaching out to the Latinos in our community. Today, nearly 70% of our students identify as Latinos or Latinas. Give that a round of applause. My friends, that is not an evolution, but it is a revolution. Though Dr. Arciniega could not be here with us today, I think that he deserves one more round. And now, I turn to the man who changed my life forever. When he offered me this role 9 years ago, Dr. Mitchell, the first Black president to be appointed to lead this great university. I pause in that moment because how influential it was in my life and the life of my family. Thank you, Horace. Everything. During his 14-year presidency, Dr. Mitchell launched visionary programs and initiatives that grew our enrollment, supported students on their journey at CSU. He also led the daunting transition of our athletics program to Division I of the NCAA, and moved the university from a quarter-based system to a semester-based calendar, which was no small. As many in the room can attest. I see many smiles. And Dr. Mitchell and President Mitchell made it his personal mission to go into our African American churches and neighborhoods to recruit students in our community who did not always feel welcome on this campus. And we are continuing this groundbreaking work today with the launch of several initiatives designed to provide our students with cultural affirmation that they need and, more importantly, they deserve. Please join me in thanking President Emeritus Mitchell for his success. This is a tough speech for me. And now I turn to my personal mentor, who saw qualities of leadership in me that I did not even see in myself. To President Emerita Zelezny, the gratitude I feel for your faith in me is beyond my ability to express. So I will just say, thank you. As the first woman ever appointed to lead CSUB, Dr. Zelezny broke the highest and hardest glass ceiling in the region. As President Zelezny's provost, I had a front row seat that allowed me to witness her unique gift for finding a way to make instant connections with everyone she met. A walk across campus would take 3 times as long as an ordinary person would do so, because students flocked to her, to their beloved president. And she always made time for each and every conversation. Under President Zelezny's leadership, CSUB deepened our bonds to the communities that we serve, and that outreach has led to record support for donors and unprecedented partnerships to improve the educational and workforce opportunities of our friends and neighbors. Please join me in showing our appreciation for President Emeritus Tomás. As the 6th president of CSUB, I stand in awe of the legacies of the 5 presidents who preceded me in this role. It is my hope that I am able to carry out the awesome responsibilities of this position with the same grace, integrity, and vision. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Zelezny, you have left your footprints in the sands of time here at CSUB. And though I will chart my own course as president, if I am in need of your inspiration during times of uncertainty, I plan to look upon the footprints you have left for me to follow. Thank you for being with us today and for making CSUB a beacon of hope in this entire community. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Good. I want to thank you all for being here today. Before I begin, we will have a Q&A session towards the end of the program, so you can hold the questions until then. That would be great. My name is Chris Livingston. For those of you who don't know me, I am the director of the Historical Research Center and Archives here in the Walter Stiern Library. And the Historical Research Center preserves the region's history, especially as it relates to legal history, migration, indigenous cultures, music, social justice issues, and of course, university history. Self-identifying as a hands-on, applied archive, the HRC brings together archivists, librarians, social scientists, and historians to instruct students vis-a-vis the community on the practical application of history and the preservation and conservation of historical information. Imagine if the letters, decisions, and key documents of the university's most transformative leader were lost forever. How would future generations understand the impact of their leadership? As director of the HRC, I want to emphasize the critical importance of donating university presidential papers to the archives. These documents capture key decisions, initiatives, and challenges during each president's tenure, ensuring that the university's institutional memory is preserved for future generations. They reflect the university's growth, its impact on the community, and its response to both opportunities and crises. From a historical perspective, presidential papers offer invaluable insights into the university's evolution. They document the administration's role in shaping policies that influence not just the campus, but the broader region. Researchers studying educational trends, leadership, and regional development rely on these materials to understand how university leadership has influenced higher education in Kern County and beyond. In addition to their historical value, presidential papers are an essential resource for research. They offer scholars and students, especially those studying public administration, education policy, or history, access to primary sources that illuminate leadership, decision-making, and the university's role in society. These documents allow for a detailed study of leadership successes and lessons over time. Preserving these papers also enhances transparency. By understanding how key decisions were made, we gain insight into the values and priorities that shaped our institution. Finally, these records strengthen the university's institutional memory. They provide continuity, helping future leaders make informed decisions by reflecting on past challenges and successes. For students, faculty, and administrators, access to this history fosters a deeper connection to the university and its mission. Donating presidential papers not only preserves the university's legacy, but also serves the broader public by contributing to a comprehensive historical record that reflects CSUB's impact on the region. Through this process, we are investing in the future, ensuring the decisions and milestones of today will inform and inspire tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here to help honor 3 influential presidents, each representing watershed periods in the history of our campus. I'm Alicia Rodriguez, Interim Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities, and I'm honored to be able to say a few words today about Dr. Tomás Arciniega, who, as you know, is unable to be here today. Well, while I didn't know him well, I'm pleased to say that he was president of CSUB when I started here as an undergraduate in 1985. And when I came back as a faculty member in 1998, he was still president. During that time, the physical infrastructure of the campus utterly transformed. He's responsible for much of that transformation. The new library, the amphitheater, music building. It's almost like I didn't recognize it. There were roads on campus that weren't paved that were. But beyond that physical transformation, beyond the infrastructure, the way he transformed the campus and its relations to the community is truly remarkable. In 1983, at the age of 46, he was named the 3rd president in the 13-year history of what was then California State College, Bakersfield. As President Harper noted earlier, he's the university's longest-serving president, a post he held for 21 years. At the time of his appointment, also as President Harper referenced, not only the first Latino to serve as president of a CSU, but he was one of only 7 Latinos, people of Latino heritage, ever to have served as a university president in the United States. Dr. Arciniega was born within 10 miles of the Mexican border in El Paso, Texas, which we historians know has been a significant industrial city since the late 19th century. It was a city that smelted iron ore that was transported across the country. It also happened to be one of the major transnational railroad hubs. Manufactured goods, raw materials going to and from between the United States and Mexico, helping build. When you look at the iron ore, you look at cities like Chicago, they were built on the ore that was smelted there. So important in that sense. It's also been historically a significant port of entry. And it is a city that is also known by those who are familiar with Mexican-American history. It has produced significant Mexican-American leaders in politics, in civil rights, and in education. And Dr. Arciniega made his mark in education. He devoted his lifelong effort as an advocate for underrepresented and first-generation students. As a young man, Dr. Arciniega played college football at New Mexico State University and was a minor league baseball player. He left baseball, transitioned to a different career, entered university, and eventually earned a master's degree in educational administration from the University of New Mexico. And in 1965, he earned a PhD in educational administration, also from the University of New Mexico. In the late 1960s, well, rather than going directly into an academic position, late 1960s, he worked internationally, worked for the United States government internationally in Latin America and in the Caribbean, before entering academia and as faculty at the University of Texas, El Paso, UTEP. He served as a dean at UTEP, but his first assignment with the CSU was as dean of the College of Education at San Diego State University. And that's a post that he held for 7 years before leaving San Diego for CSU Fresno in 1980, where he served as provost before coming to CSUB in 1983. During Dr. Arciniega's tenure as president, CSUB's student population more than doubled. And for those of you that follow sports, basketball team won a national championship, first time. And the university transformed from the liberal arts college model to a regional comprehensive university. And that was really a game changer in terms of its mission, in terms of outreach, in terms of the programs, many of which he helped usher in as we see growth in the university during that time. Also, one of the other transformations is that CSU, well, it was CSB, when I started, went from California State College Bakersfield, to California State University, Bakersfield. And that represents a significant milestone in its development. Very significantly, as President Harper noted, we saw a transformation in the student demographic as well. The Latino, or Hispanic student demographic was about 10%. When I was a student, it was 15%. But in 1998, the fruits of his labor, his advocacy, his work with the community, his efforts to recruit students, a transformation to today, we are about 70%, and that designation came in 1998, the year I returned to CSUB as a faculty member. He left his mark on CSUB. He changed the trajectory of its mission, its growth, before retiring in 2004. Though he is not here today, I would like to ask you to please give a round of applause for CSUB's third president, Dr. Tomás Arciniega.
Good afternoon. You know, when we were, as a committee, looking at who would introduce whom, I thought that we would have some fights over who would win in certain categories. I was very fortunate in that I did get the honor and would have been happy with an introduction of either of the two between Dr. Zelezny and Dr. Mitchell. Well, I got the honor of introducing Dr. Mitchell since I had known him longer. I came to the university in February of 2012, and I'm just happy that Dr. Mitchell saw something in me that he thought that maybe I would and could lead the Division of Student Affairs, and so I'm happy that I was selected for that position and have served in that role since February of 2012. Dr. Mitchell became the fourth president of California State University in July of 2004 after 36 years of experience in higher education. Under Dr. Mitchell's leadership, the university entered a period of rapid development with a vision to extend the excellence and diversity of the faculty and academic programs, enhance the quality of the student experience, and strengthen community engagement. Dr. Mitchell came to CSUB from the University of California, Berkeley, where he served as Vice Chancellor for Business and Administrative Services, an affiliated professor for African American Studies as well. Prior to that, he served as the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Campus Life and Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Human Behavior at UC Irvine. Dr. Mitchell holds a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in counseling, and a PhD in counseling psychology, all from Washington University in St. Louis. He began his professional career at his alma mater in 1968. Dr. Mitchell's professional membership includes the American Association for Higher Education, the American Council on Education, the American Psychological Association, and the Association of Black Psychologists. He has been recognized widely for his many years of community service by civic, nonprofit, governmental, educational, and professional organizations. Dr. Mitchell's teaching and research interests are in the areas of multicultural psychology and psychological assessment. Dr. Mitchell helped initiate CSUB's transfer into the semester system and moved the athletic program from Division II to Division I. CSUB's move to Division I was validated when the men's basketball team won the WAC tournament and participated in the NCAA tournament. To follow that up, the men's basketball team also went to the Final Four of the NIT. During his tenure, our sports teams won 8 conference championships, something that he was very proud of, again, which validated our move to Division I. Student Housing East was a major project that came to fruition under Dr. Mitchell's leadership. Retirement has allowed him the opportunity to spend more time with his wife of 58 years. That's a long time. Mrs. Barbara Mitchell, who played an integral role in everything that Dr. Mitchell was able to accomplish during his time here. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Horace Mitchell.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for being here. And it is always my pleasure when I have a chance to come back to the university and take part in the various things that are going on campus. And I want to thank Dr. Wallace for his introduction. And I also want to thank President Harper for his appointment as a new president and his career of what he's done to get to this point. Let's say it. I also want to thank Dr. Wallace, who made sure that I had all the things that I needed to have to be ready to be here for this program. During the course of my 50-year career in higher education, whenever I was interested in looking at another position or I was approached about another position, I always asked the question, is this a position where I could make a difference? That's been part of who I am, wanting to make a difference. An example of that is that Dr. Chen Tien, who was chancellor at UC Berkeley, was at the time the vice chancellor for research at Berkeley when he was appointed executive vice chancellor at UCI while I was the vice chancellor for student affairs. And he and I worked very well together. And his wife and Barbara and the 4 of us had great relationships. After only a year at UCI, Dr. Tien was then appointed Chancellor of UC Berkeley. And about a year later, he asked someone to ask me about a position that he had that he thought I would be good for. And this whole notion about making sure you can make a difference came to fore. because I was changing roles. Being a psychologist and being a vice chancellor for student affairs and campus life was sort of easy in many respects. But the role at Berkeley was to be the vice chancellor for business and administrative services. And so when Chancellor Tien approached me about that, I said, well, you know, my background is in, you know, this area. He says, yes, but your role at Irvine was much larger than that. And I think you can do this job that I have at Berkeley. And so I said, well, the other thing is, I only want to go someplace and get into a role where I can make a difference. And I said, Berkeley is already #1. So I can't imagine what I can do to improve that. He said, yes, we're #1 academically, but he said, I fear that we're losing the administrative capacity to support Berkeley's academic mission. And that changed everything, because I felt that if I could make a difference in making sure that the administrative division of the university did a better job of supporting the university's academic mission, that was important work to do. So I accepted that position at Berkeley, and I stayed in that role for 9 years. During the 9th year, I was approached by people who were recruiting for the Board of Trustees to find a new president, a 4th president for CSUB. So I got a call from them, and they said, you know, what do you think about being president of CSUB? I said, well, I've never thought about it. I said, it just never came up. But I said then that, well, my wife and I need to visit the campus, look at some history, and get a feel for the campus before I can answer your question. And I said we would be going down to Southern California in a couple of weeks, and we'll stop at Bakersfield and talk to some folks, and at that point I can give you an answer. And so after Barbara and I came down and looked at the campus and the community and all, we said, this is interesting. So I said, okay, put my hat in the ring. And so I did. And then a few weeks later, when I was announced as one of 3 finalists for the position, I said to Barbara, you know, we're going to have to go back down to Bakersfield to make sure that this is something that we want to do. And we came back on our own, and also we came back when the interview portion of the search was going on. And that's when we had a chance to meet many members of this exceptional university community. And from there, I went from, okay, I'll look at it, to I want to do this. I want to do this because I saw people who were interested in all the kinds of things that had been described already in the introductory remarks. And I felt that this is something that I could make some contributions to. And so at that point, I became very interested in getting the job. And fortunately, I was offered the position, as you all know. And I served in the role for 14 years. And it was a time that I absolutely enjoyed. And my first lady, Barbara Jean Berry Mitchell, who was my high school sweetheart. Now, what she would say is that I was her tutor. And when you leave it at that, you say, well, what was that? What was that all about? And so I would say I was a peer to it. And I would say, and she was very smart. In fact, she has 4 university degrees. And I always wanted to acknowledge Barbara's role in all the things that we do, because she was there with me with everything. When we got married, I hadn't earned my bachelor's degree yet. And so we were together through all of that, and she had not earned a degree either at that point. But she, first of all, got a degree in nursing, followed up by a degree in psychology, and then a master's degree in social work, and then a master's degree in counseling. And she then, once we moved to California in 1978, became a graduate student at Azusa Pacific and completed the coursework for a doctorate, but we moved here to Bakersfield before she finished that. And it was just difficult, given her new responsibilities. And she decided, okay, I don't have to finish that up because I know what I want to be doing. And we're fortunate to have her as a faculty member here for a time. With what I've just said, what I want to do now is to give you an idea of my presidential papers. And when I was thinking about this, when I was approached about it, I was thinking, let's see now, how much do we have? No, thank you. Yeah. One of the disadvantages of turning 80 is that I've got some mobility issues, and Barbara is always ready for me to use the walker. And when we've gone on vacation, she's been sure to make sure that I have not just a walker, but a scooter. And we just got back this past Sunday from a 10-day vacation and celebration of my birthday, and we spent 7 days on a Caribbean cruise. And she made sure that I had one of those scooters. And she says she doesn't need one. Although I encourage her to use it from time to time. With what I've said very briefly, the range of my presidential papers is really fairly extensive. And my commitment to keeping it for the campus, as the librarians have said, is very important. And so let me give you just a quick glance of what those papers look like, and then what it is that we did during that time. And Dr. Wallace described a lot of that. I'll start with my inaugural address. And it seems to me that people, when they hear of a new president, want to know, one, who is this person? And two, what are they all about? Okay? And so my sense was that I needed to do that. And so I spent some time early in my inaugural address introducing members of my family, describing the fact of being a Christian and wanting to make sure that this was something, again, that was important to us as we moved along. And by the time I came here as president, after 36 years in higher education, we already had all 3 of our children, of course, and we had 2 grandchildren as well. And now we have 6 grandchildren, and our son married into a family, so that he now has a blended family, and now we have 8 grandchildren. and we now have 3 great-grandchildren. And the last one, who was the first girl great-grandchild, was born only a month ago. And so we had a chance to see her when we went through St. Louis as part of our celebration. And her mother, our granddaughter, made the decision that she wanted to go to Washington University. Growing up here in California, we go, why? And she said, well, it worked for you and Nana, so that's what I want to do. And so she did, and she did very well. Graduated with having completed the pre-med requirements. And she's thinking about when she'd want to really apply for graduate for medical school. But I say that to say that we're very much a family, Barbara and I, and we have been that for a really, really long time. Now, let me tell you, getting back to what I was saying a minute ago, about the papers. When I retired, I had my assistant give me a thumb drive with all of these presentations and addresses and things on them. And that was useful when I began to think about this presentation. And so, for example, in addition to the presidential address, we had over 150 President's Monthly Campus Updates that we presented to the campus. While I've got a second, I want to take a second to introduce Dr. Evelyn Young's staff, who she was my chief of staff while I was president, the whole while. And she made very important contributions to what we're doing. And as I look around, there are a lot of people that I could identify. Claudia Kakota, for example, also was equity, inclusion, and compliance. And again, I better stop now before I miss someone. So the President's Monthly Updates were important, and we had about 150 of those. And then we also had University Day addresses, 14 of those. We also had new student convocations annually with an address from me. And there were 14 of those. And then for commencement addresses, it was about 20, even though it was 14 years, because at a point we decided that we needed to move, as Dr. Wallace said, from being a quarter academic institution to being a semester institution. And so we made that decision, and that was a very important decision. Also, we have something called University Council that the university staff are very familiar with. And that was a way to address miscellaneous issues that came up on the campus. And it gave everybody the opportunity to see about them, hear about them. And then we also had campus forums on various topics. We then also had a president's annual report that had all of the statistics and demographics there in terms of enrollment and fundraising and all the other variables that are required there. And then the last set of papers have to do with my retirement announcement in 2017, which is when I made the announcement. And then the end of that academic year, 2018, when we actually did retire. And I want to say a little bit more about those last two a little bit later on. So needless to say, I will limit my presentation today to a few of the most significant issues we addressed during my presidency. One of them, from the very beginning, had to do with campus identity. When I came, people were saying the college, or they would say Cal State, which is true. But I really wanted them to identify the campus with the larger CSU system. And so we began to say CSU Bakersfield as the preferred name. And it took some people a little while to get used to it. But for the most part, people did. And when we made the transition of our athletics program to Division I, we made sure that ESPN would say CSU Bakersfield and not only Cal State. Nothing wrong with Cal State, but one of the things that I did in my first year here at CSUB is to teach a course on identity construction. And what that has to do with is that for all of us, we can have an identity by default based on the perceptions of others, or we can affirm our own identity. And so what I was about and what I wanted us to be about was affirming our identity as CSUB, who we are, what we stand for, and where we're going. So under that campus identity part, vision obviously was very important. And so after my appointment, but before I started, I called President Arciniega and I said, asked him, I said, would you be okay with me meeting with your cabinet and members of the Academic Senate, because I've been thinking about a vision for CSUB. And I said, I don't want it to be my vision. I want it to be our vision. And so he said yes to that very graciously, and I appreciated that. And so we had that meeting, and coming out of it, there were 4 words that were changed in the document that I presented for discussion at the time. And so the vision became what you've heard, that CSUB will become the leading campus in the CSU system in terms of academic excellence and diversity, the quality of the student experience, and community engagement. And everything that we did over the term of my presidency related to being excellent in those kinds of ways. We also developed new signage for the university. Now this will sound unnecessary, but we decided that hundreds of thousands of cars pass Stockdale Highway on Interstate 5. And there was no reference about CSUB, all right? And so we worked with Caltrans to put up a sign at Stockdale Highway on Interstate 5 that says Bakersfield, this way. And again, that might seem like a trivial thing, but it really wasn't. You know, it's all about that identity thing and letting people know who we are. We also, obviously, as we all do, developed a strategic plan and also a process for implementing that strategic plan and also evaluating it. We also developed the campus's first flag. We did not have a university flag before that time. And so we made the decision to have a flag made, and you've seen it right there, a little bit outside of the library. And that's important too. Another is we never had an alma mater. And so, or a quote, fight song. And so one of our ASI members, in fact the president, Dan Janutis, led the process where people could submit proposals for those two. And so at the end of that process, we selected one of each, and those were introduced at the ceremony honoring the 35th anniversary of the university, which was the point at which I was inaugurated, because inaugurations usually occur about a year or so after the appointment. In addition to that, some of the important differences that we made include that we approved the first engineering programs at the university. We also approved the first independent doctoral program in educational leadership. We also took a critical look at the structure of our academic programs, and we made some changes in that. And so, under those reorganizations, for example, we decided we no longer wanted a standalone college of education. And so we added education to what was the School of Social Humanities and Social Sciences, okay? And it became Social Sciences and Education. And then the humanities part of that picked up with arts. All right, so I'm probably getting into too much detail. But it was important because we wanted to make sure that there was great synergy among the units, and that units had the capacity to deliver on our expectations. You've heard already about the fact that we changed the academic calendar from quarters to semesters. And we did that because we recognized that practically all of the students from this region were in high schools where they were on a semester system, and when they got here on a quarter system, sometimes many of them fell behind, not because they didn't have the capacity, but because things were moving faster than they were accustomed to. And so that change was really very important, and it continues today. Another item has to do with new academic and student services buildings. Very important. With enrollment growth, there becomes a need for additional facilities. And one of the important facilities that we developed at that point was the Student Recreation Center, which we didn't have previously. And there's several academic buildings that were also constructed. And then the move of our athletics programs from Division II to Division I was mentioned before. And I'll say a little bit more about that. And that is that when Barbara and I came for the official campus visits, several people who were in the audience during a question and answer period says, well, what do you think about us going to Division I? Okay, and I said, well, that is a reasonable aspiration given the success of the athletics program in Division II. And, that was pretty much it at that point. Then when I came back as president, people say, what do you think about us going to Division I? And I gave the same answer, except that I added that we will take the next year to decide whether that will work for us. And I indicated that what we needed to do to make that work was that we needed to do some additional fundraising, and students need to contribute by increasing their student fee to help pay for athletics. And the students agreed with that, and we raised the required funds, and we started Division I. And believe it or not, as good as we were in Division II, we didn't have a baseball program. And so we added baseball and added several women's sports as well, including tennis. We also were able to get the Board of Trustees to approve a campus master plan revision. And what we wanted was to get ahead of the game. That is, not simply work on those things when they were urgent. Things like space on the south side of campus where Bakersfield College has an installation. We got approval for not that particular project, but for projects in that area from the Board of Trustees ahead of time, so that when the time came, the processes moved quickly. Also, we had them agree to a conceptual change in terms of our enrollment so that we can increase our enrollment without having to go back to the Board of Trustees every time that happens. So all of those things were very important, and they make a difference in what we are doing. I want to end by just reading a little bit from my announcement about my retirement. And it says, I have decided to retire at the end of the 2017-2018 academic year, effective June 30th. While I have been contemplating this decision for some time, there are no particular precipitating circumstances that have led me to make this decision now. One of my former colleagues once said, being a university president is an infinity job. At any point in time, there are always many more things that can be accomplished. I agree with that statement. The job of being president of CSU Bakersfield will never end. However, I'm now prepared to pass the torch of leadership to my immediate successor. And I say immediate successor because there will be several other CSU presidents over the next 100 years, each of whom will lead the university during his or her time of stewardship, while also positioning the university for the future beyond their tenure. For me, this feels like the time to retire. My always supportive wife, Barbara, has been clear that I should make that decision when I am ready to do so. She has been a retired educator, or semi-retired, as she says, for some time, because she could not retire until I retired as president. She notes that That was true. And while she has left this decision entirely to me, I know that she too is ready to retire. I have been president about twice as long as the average tenure of American university presidents. In addition, July 30th, 2018 will mark the end of my 50-year full-time career in higher education for 4 great universities. Washington University in St. Louis, our alma mater, UC Irvine, UC Berkeley, and CSU Bakersfield. Most importantly, I believe we have made significant progress toward realization of our vision, which is always aspirational. Extend the excellence and diversity of our faculty and academic programs, enhance the quality of the student experience, and strengthening our community engagement. It has been my honor and privilege to serve with you, our outstanding faculty, staff, and administrators in serving our students and community over the past 13 years. This was ahead of the final year, so it's 13 years. And I have enjoyed doing so. We have been dedicated to inspiring excellence among our students and transforming their lives. I have informed Chancellor White, our former Chancellor, of my decision to retire. In the near future, he will provide information to the campus and community on the process and time frame for the recruitment of my successor. That being said, I will still be here and fully engaged throughout the 2017-18 academic year. So let's continue our important work together in serving our students and community as we address significant issues, challenges, and opportunities that lie ahead and position the university for a remarkable future. Thank you. That was my announcement about retiring at the end of that particular academic year. And our last President's Monthly update has information at the very end. And so what I want to do is just to end by mentioning one set of things. That is, in order to honor our purpose and commitment to achieving our vision of excellence in all areas, we're guided by a set of core values that shape our work with students, with each other, and with the region we serve. These core values include the following commitments: developing the intellectual and personal potential of every student, supporting the intellectual and professional development of all faculty and staff, nurturing a civil and collegial campus environment that values the diversity of persons and ideas, engaging one another with respect, trustworthiness, ethical behavior, and self-reflection. Promoting active and informed engagement of faculty, staff, students, and community members in shared governance. Being accountable to the public, alumni, students, and one another for achieving the mission, vision, and goals of the university. I am certain you will provide the same support to our incoming president, Dr. Lynnette Zelezny, excuse me, I'm sorry. As you have provided to me. and from all indications that has been true. First Lady Barbara Mitchell and I are grateful for the support, your engagement, and your friendship. We wish each of you the very best in the future. Thank you. Challenges with turning 80.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sandra Bozarth. I'm Dean of Libraries, and I would like to start out by, and we've thanked a few people, but I have a few more folks that I'd like to thank. The Office of the President, and Student Affairs, Library Administration, Library Archives, and the Historical Research Team, and the student assistants, student interns that are here still. If you could step out and step up, I want to thank you. There were 4 student interns that were here helping with today and helping get this going. They're helping with the processing parts of it and documenting all of this. We really couldn't do all of it without them. So we really are at our best when we collaborate and work together. So thank you all for your willingness and support of this event and all of the other things you do. Today, I have the privilege of recognizing Dr. Lynnette Zelezny, our 5th president and first woman to lead California State University, Bakersfield. I'm going to tell just 2 little stories that aren't written down here, but a few things came up while Dr. Mitchell was speaking, and I thought I wanted to share these. I started here in 2001 as a lecturer, part-time librarian. So I only worked nights, and I was under Arciniega. So my first tenure track position was under Dr. Mitchell. They were right around the same time, 2001, 2, 3, around there. I can't remember the exact year, but around there. Barbara, and First Lady Barbara and President Mitchell came into the library as one of their first stops. So I was very impressed by that. Very important, your first stop, come in, get your ID, and Barbara was asking about checking out books and all that, so love that. Not too long after that, his inaugural speech in the Dore was packed. There was no room. It was packed. I had a seat, got there early, it was sitting down, and here comes Barbara. And she's standing on the side, and I thought, is anyone going to give her a seat? So I got up and let her have my seat. Probably don't remember that, but let her have my seat. So then there was this rumor that I was the daughter of the president. So that was the rumor, and I took it. And so that's my Mitchell story, and I thought I'd share that. And then Dr. Zelezny's story, I can't remember exactly when it was. It may have been 2 weeks in, it may have been 2 months in, but it wasn't far into her presidency. She was doing a tour of the, I don't know what you were doing, but you were out and about, and you were in the librarian hallway where our faculty librarian offices are, knocking on our doors, introducing herself to us, and I was just floored, the president's in the library, and I was teaching that day, so I was dressed like an adult, and I have the picture to prove it. So, right in front of my office with my nice, I have a nice faculty office, I have a window in the background, so just really impressed of the effort that she was making with the Mitchells coming into the library right from the get-go. So they had me from the beginning, but I really think it's evident all the way here today that they're really about connecting with people and making a difference, and you made a difference with me and your time here, both of you. So on to the part that is written. Dr. Zelezny served for 35 years in higher education in California Central Valley. Her entire professional career was in the California State University system. At Fresno State, my alma mater, where she served for 30 years, she began on the faculty as a lecturer and rose to professor of psychology. On her faculty sabbatical, she taught at the University of Stockholm in Sweden and conducted research on environmental psychology. She went on to serve in numerous leadership roles, including chair of the Department of Psychology, associate dean of business, dean of extended education, associate provost, and provost. And as an administrator, she received a Fulbright fellowship in Germany. Dr. Zelezny was appointed president at CSUB in 2018. It was a thrilling appointment, as CSUB was the only place that she was interested in serving as president. During her time at CSUB, there were many highlights. Over $2 million in improvements were advanced, a public-private partnership that built Bakersfield College Southwest on the CSUB campus, the Hall Family Pavilion at the Icardo Center, the Grimm Family Agricultural Business Center, the CSUB Entrepreneurship Accelerator, and a $83 million state appropriation, $83 million, so clarify that, state appropriation for the Energy Innovation Building. Additional pride points include the great hires made on the faculty and staff that changed the face of leadership. Strong governance and Division I athletic competition in the Big West. But closest to Zelezny's heart are the thousands of students that graduated from CSUB under her tenure and now serve as leaders and professionals that lift our region. And many of you are in the room here too. Zelezny is an alum of the CSU. She earned her BA and MA in psychology from Humboldt State, now Cal Poly Humboldt, where she was named Distinguished Alumna in 2021. As a reentry student and mother, she earned a PhD in applied social psychology from Claremont Graduate University and an MBA with a distinction from Fresno State. Married to John Zelezny for 43 years, a lawyer, communications executive, and author of best-selling textbook Communications Law. They have 3 adult professional children and 1 grandchild. In her retirement, Dr. Zelezny continues to serve. She is a senior consultant for American Association of State Colleges and Universities, a board of director for HERS, a member of the Higher Education Council for the Public Policy Institute of California. For fun, she follows her passions: travel, often, dance, die hard, and poetry, perpetual.
Thank you, Dean Bozarth. I am so proud of President Harper. And I feel very honored to be in the room with 3 presidents, Dr. Mitchell, 2 wonderful First Ladies, Barbara, Erica. This is a really auspicious day. It's a real joy to be with all of you here today. Dr. Mitchell eloquently talked about the presidential papers. And thank you so much for sharing all of the different communications that make the university better and make administration run well. Some things that I'd like to share about my presidential papers briefly is that I can honestly say that the presidential papers that are archived here at Cal State Bakersfield are collective. That is, they were authored as a collective, mostly by the university's cabinet, but most often, Jennifer Self, are you in the room? There she is. Stand up, please. Thank you. I was hoping you would be here so I could also talk about some additional things that you'll find in the Zelezny presidential papers. So in addition, some of the unique things that I think that you will see is that we spent a lot of time communicating with our wonderful region, our community. And Jennifer was such a great help in helping with letters to the editor. We annually sent letters on Thanksgiving, which I heard from so many members of the community. So I'm truly thankful for that help. But in addition, you will see in the Zelezny presidential papers that there are poems, because I'm really passionate about poems. And so I thought that on behalf of President Mitchell and I might share a new poem, and this is a brief poem. But I hope that you will enjoy, when you look at the presidential papers, the uniqueness of the leadership of each president, the seriousness of which we were moving forward a university. And again, I do want to say that my journey was different. For President Mitchell, it was a journey where he came to Bakersfield and had to feel the fit. I was, again, so honored on the day that that announcement came out, your retirement, that I was called in to my president, who said, "You've had a lot of nominations for presidencies, but you're never interested." And I said, "That's true." He said, "I'm wondering, did you hear that Horace Mitchell will be retiring from Cal State Bakersfield? Might that be a university that would interest you?" And I smiled. It took 3 seconds. I said, "That's the one that I'm interested, and the only one that I'm interested in." And why was that? Because I knew President Mitchell. He had brought this university to a place where it was queued up for the next chapter. So I knew what I would be walking into. And I also felt so strongly about continuing to serve in the California Central Valley. So it's been my dream, my honor, to serve as the president at Cal State Bakersfield. And it has also been a dream to mentor and to see the next generation of young leaders that are coming behind me so effectively. So with that, President Mitchell, may I share a poem, I think maybe on behalf of both of us, that I authored, and I think that you'll resonate with the emotion of this poem, and it is called Beloved Home. Back again, Bakersfield, blessed, beloved home, esteemed embrace from the heart, loving memories, long locked in our soul, of the people, of the place, of the past, validating village, vector victoriously skyward, ever blooming, desired destiny for the deserved and the devoted. Hold us always in your humble, holy history. Own this October occasion as most masterful, moving, and meaningful. Electric, eternity embodied, and I witnessed. Endearing entrustment, evermore, ever joyed, ever thankful. Thank you.
Early good evening, everyone. My name's Erin Pruitt, and I'm this year's ASI president, and it is my honor on behalf of ASI to present President Emeritus Lynnette with some flowers as President Emeritus Dr. Horace Mitchell, as well as some flowers on behalf of ASI and all the students here at CSUB.
Okay, so we're going to proceed with some questions and answers. So do we have any questions from the audience? I'll give you a few seconds here to let them percolate.
You're very kind. Well, Sandra articulated, so many that I'm proud of. One of the things that I was really proud of is when the cabinet began to work with our strategic plan and our capital campaign, and to bring money into the university, especially to improve our facilities and our programming. So as mentioned, about $200 million in improvements during that tenure, and again, collective. This is all the work of many people, but we're really proud, for instance, of Bakersfield College Southwest Center on our campus. That still is a model in the CSU. It's the only one in the CSU. And the importance of that is because it helps students, particularly first-generation students, to transition from a community college and to have that articulated and ready for CSUB. And they're on the campus. All they have to do is walk a few steps on the red brick road. It was wonderful working on the Kern Pledge. So much was advanced by the collective work of the educational leaders in this region. I felt so proud of that. But also the work of B3K, Better Bakersfield, Boundless Kern, is really lifting the region. And one of the pride points that I have is that when that strategic plan was developed, it allowed Cal State Bakersfield to understand what our future majors should look like, so that we could align that economic plan with our future development of new programming. So those are but a few things. It was really fun to be part of the Big West. I should have brought my pom-poms today. I did keep one. I have a gold one. The blue one is here in the archives. But I was really proud of that. And again, that's a legacy from Dr. Mitchell that he handed off. And still really proud of our athletics here. I've only ever been in Division I athletics my entire career. So
We got it done in time.
I know.
First of all, I want to thank you both for being here, gracing us with your presence. I thank Dr. Wallace for giving a round of applause. Just a brilliant going to psychologists, and I'm being married to one myself, and ask a psychological question. What trait, over the course of your presidency, personal, psychological, what trait did you find yourself relying on the most through the ups and downs of the presidency? What did you rely on most?
I would say I rely on, what comes to mind is genuineness. Okay? Like whatever I did, it needed to be something that was genuine. And so I trusted myself to look at things from that perspective and make some determinations.
I'd say love. You have to love the work that you do. You have to love the people that you're serving. And I loved every minute being here at CSUB. I think that the time that we have been together is really magical in many ways. So don't ever underestimate the power of love to drive us forward.
Hello, thank you both so much. It's an honor to be sitting here in your presence today. In the spirit of and hearing about how your experience of leading our students and having that interpersonal connection with them and reaching out, I'd love to ask you all if you would please honor us in sharing your favorite experience you've had with students on campus, a memory, a moment. What was one that stood out to you in all your years of serving and working with this institution and working with our students?
I really enjoyed working with our students. It was a big part of what we were all about. And what comes to mind for me among all students is someone whose name I mentioned a little while ago, Dan Januchis, because Dan came here to CSUB from Texas to be in our wrestling program. Okay? And he was a very good wrestler, but then he injured his neck and his wrestling career ended. But rather than saying, well, I'm going back to Texas, he decided that he wanted to stay here at CSUB and finish his degree, which he did. And in that last year, he was also the ASI president, you know. And when he graduated, I asked him to be a presidential assistant, okay, to help with some things that we were putting together. For example, let's see, where's Evelyn? Okay. Evelyn was working on a trademark licensing program. And we invited Dan to become very much a part of that. And he did that. And we made some important decisions about our trademarks. Which ones, what it costs using, those kinds of things. But also about Dan, when he finished his degree here and after the year as an intern, he went to he went to the University of Las Vegas, UNLV, and got a master's degree there. And then he got a doctorate degree there, and now he's an administrator there. And it's just a great story, you know. Starting out, I want to be a good wrestler, and I'm going to go to CSUB because CSUB has great wrestling programs. But he didn't give up when he couldn't do his dream thing, but what he has done has been extraordinary. And there are many other students that I can name, you know, in the same way.
Let's see, is Michael Lucan still here? I know he came down from Fresno State just to be here on this occasion. Michael Lucan served as my chief of staff, and I said to Michael one day, I can't stay in this office all day. I am an environmental psychologist. colleges, I have to be out. So I said, I'm going to pick a time and I'm going to let people know that I'm going to be walking about. And he said, that is a really stupid idea. And he said, that's never going to work. And I said, well, okay, doesn't matter. I'm going to pick a time. We're gonna do this once a month. And he said, well, you're gonna have a name for it. I said, okay, well, you come up with it. So the very first time that we had Runner Walk and Talk, Michael said, all morning, nobody's gonna show up. And I said, it doesn't matter. We'll still walk around, Michael, and we'll talk to people. Well, thank you, ASI, because you were always by my side. ASI showed up, faculty members showed up, so we had 25 that very first time. And that particular event grew to be popular among the students and the faculty and staff. It was particularly important during COVID when students were so isolated. And Runner Walk and Talk went virtual, and we started doing it weekly because students needed it so much. It was their lifeline. And there were a lot of emotional moments for students that needed help, but they didn't know how to connect to folks. And I didn't know all the answers. I was just the air traffic controller, right, in the virtual ones. But we had a lot of fun. I'm glad that I proved Michael Rubens wrong, that it turned out to be something that people then asked for. And then after COVID, they said, well, when are we going to go back to the real walk around? And I said, yeah, we'll do that. And so I really enjoyed that. And there were just so many, just countless funny questions from students. But we could get right on it, right? They could get access, and I really, really enjoyed that. So, yeah, thanks to the students for saving me on what could have been a really terrible idea.
What did you call it?
Michael called it Runner Walk and Talk. Do you still call it that? Okay. All right, good for you.
Good afternoon.
Oh, hello, Dean. Nice to see you, Luis.
Thank you so much for your love and devotion to our institution. You have left an indelible mark, and I have nothing but happy memories of you being here. Both of you were here in very difficult times. Dr. Mitchell, you helped us navigate the recession of 2007, furloughs, and a lot of difficult times. Dr. Zelezny, you helped us through the pandemic, also very difficult times. I see a lot of distress, despair today with uncertainty in the budgets, with enrollments. I wanted to maybe have words of wisdom for us as we navigate these stages in front of us. Thank you.
Well, the world is very unsettled, and there will always be challenges in front of us. But that's when the great leaders stay calm and steady and keep their team close by. And also they keep other voices close by, because you need to know where the challenges really are and how it's being articulated. So the words of advice are, don't ever expect that there's going to be times when there aren't challenges. I mean, that's an opportunity, right? That's a privilege to be able to be serving. And I can honestly say that during the pandemic, and my team knows this, I would come to the cabinet table and I'd say, I'm glad it's us that is sitting here today, because we're going to be okay. And we were. So, and I want to thank the faculty and the staff and the students for recognizing that we were really trying hard, and we were determined that we were going to get to a better side of that pandemic. So, stay strong and steady, and take it on as an opportunity.
I would simply say ditto.
First of all, I would like to say to everyone who spoke and shared stories, thank you for this wonderful history. This was a great event from all the speakers. Thank you very much. For the two of you, I'm so happy to see you two. It just makes my heart joyous to see you together sitting up there. My question is for Dr. Mitchell. You said in your remarks that you went from coming to Cal State University Bakersfield and being interested to, I want this job. What got you there?
Well, what got me here is that Barbara and I really did some research and really talked to a lot of people on campus. And we began to hear what people were saying were their aspirations for the university. And they were talking about things that I had been involved in already, either at UC Berkeley or at UC Irvine or at my alma mater. And Dr. Flockner is also a graduate of our alma mater, Washington University in St. Louis. and so it's that kind of engagement of people. We want this to be better, okay? We want to serve our community, we want to serve our students, and I saw that as a genuine kind of concern. And the other part of it is that among a range of things that I saw immediately as being things that needed to happen were things that I had already had some experience with. And so it made it easy for me to have the conversations with people to flesh out some of their ideas.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome back, President Mitchell, President Zelezny. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership. I've worked closely with both of you in various roles as faculty. I really appreciate you listening to a lot of the ideas. Some at the time may seem a little wild, but supportive of it. I remember Dr. Mitchell, every time I would say something, he'd be like, that's a good idea, we'll think about it. That means now, and
he tells that story all the time.
And the same with Dr. Zelezny too. She would write down, take notes. Oh, we'll think about it. So, President Harper is different. So on behalf of the faculty, I just wanted to thank you, President Mitchell.
How is it different, Aaron?
Well, we'll talk. You're the president now, so I can't say stuff. So just wanted to thank you all and look forward to seeing all the papers and stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Zelezny and Dr. Mitchell. I have two questions, please. One for you, Dr. Zelezny. As a woman president, what are some of the challenges that you faced as a woman president, and how did you overcome them? And then for the both of you, in a climate where diversity, equity, and inclusion, universities are ending those programs, corporations are ending those programs, how can we and how should we move forward in embracing DEI as a core value?
You want to start with the DEI, everyone? That's very top of mind to
Oh
you
yes,
as well.
absolutely. And you're right, Ellen. It used to be that universities were very interested in, diversity, inclusion, etc. And people were establishing not only individual positions, but divisions of the university to advance those kinds of ideas. But the landscape changes, and I think it's important that we not simply give in to that, but rather that we continue to make the case for why that is important and demonstrate why that's important until results from that. A lot of people who take the opposite position believe that they're being disadvantaged by that, and they don't want it, rather than looking at that as a way in which we can get inclusion for everybody. You know, it's not that if you win, I lose. That's not it. And so we need to just keep working with people and helping them think through why that continues to be important.
I think that, Jennifer, you coined the term diversity is our superpower. And as an environmental psychologist, I took many courses in ecosystems. And one of the things you first learn as a biology student is that ecosystems, to thrive, must have diversity. If they become too homogeneous, they will die. So if you reference biological theory of diversity, it's a no-brainer, right? It's absolutely essential. It is our superpower. We are going to be very challenged in the next month by the election because things could change very, very quickly. We don't know how that election will turn out, but it will have very different outcomes on DEI, whichever way it goes. So I think it's important to be ready. I know I'm on the HERS board right now, and we're thinking about ways of using language in different ways so that it doesn't trigger hateful or negative behavior, and realizing that we still must champion diversity as our superpower. Being a woman president. Well, you know, it's an opportunity as a woman to model for other women their activation of their own gifts. And I think telling my story was one that I wanted to be very upfront about. Most of my career, you know, I was the mother of young children. When I went back to get my PhD, I had just had a baby, my third child. He was literally an infant. But my husband said, there's no way you're going to walk away from that opportunity. You must move forward. So I had that support, and I've had that support all along the way. But I think it's really important as a woman, and it really relates to the DEI question, to lift up other women. Would my deans here at CSUB please stand that are here? Get the point.
Hello, it is a pleasure to be here today, and I just first want to say thank you both for being here. I also agree this is a great event. My name is Marcela Diaz, also Marcy. I am having the pleasure to serve as the Executive Vice President for ASI this year. Thank you. And as such, and for the ASI representatives that we have here in this room today, I'd like to ask, how was it collaborating with ASI, and if you can share any moments? And then after that, I do have a personal question to ask of you.
Well, for me, it was one of the most fun things. I attended every academic senate meeting, and I attended all ASI meetings. And I did that when I was in Fresno State. Part of it is very practical. I wanted to know what it is that we had in front of us. And I wanted to hear it in the voice of the students or the faculty. So for me, that became just really essential to always be engaged. And for some reason I was traveling or driving, I had them plugged in so that I could still listen. And so I think that the students, I know the faculty at first wanted to know, why does the president want to come to the academic senate meeting? Aaron was kind enough to help me navigate that, in that I said, it's really important for me to just listen so I can hear it from your voice. And I was very grateful for the medal that's now in the archives from the Academic Senate, making me an honorary senator. That was very, very sweet, and I really so much appreciated that. But also just the relationship I was able to forge with students. You know, being a woman, being a mother, you know, back to the authentic, it's just what brings me joy. So I hope the students can also feel that, because I certainly thought that was always very worthwhile, and just can't thank ASI enough. You were by my side all the way.
My feeling is very similar, except I did not go to every ASI meeting, but I went to many. I always had good relationships with the ASI officers, and obviously with the academic senate as well. And those are important relationships, you know, absolutely important relationships, because as presidents or administrators, we can't just depend on our own perceptions or the people who are very close to us to tell us what's going on. We have to be there, we have to listen to everybody, and we need to really understand in a genuine way. And so that is important.
Awesome, thank you. Those are great answers. For my personal question, I just wanted to ask, and I know this is vague, so you can take it how you'd like, but what are some things you hope to see CSUB as of now either continue to strive in or become? I know that's big.
I feel very good about where CSUB is. And I remember when we were at a different place. And everyone who's been here wants to strive for excellence. You know, it's innate in us as faculty members and administrators to really make sure that we're doing all that we can do to support our institution. And so I would rejoice in what is being done and what has been done. And there are no particular things I can think of where we need to do more of this or more of that. It could be anything, and we could do that. But no particular things come to mind for me. For example, I talked about starting the education doctrine. That was something that we felt was a real need. And we were getting feedback from school districts, you know, regarding that. And so it was clear that we needed to do something different in order to do a better job of preparing administrators to be effective in schools. And we did, and we made a difference. And in fact, we were authorized by the Board of Trustees to have a program before we actually had the opportunity to pull it together. And so what we did was we worked with Fresno State, and Fresno State offered their doctorate in educational administration here. And the students who got their doctorates here from the faculty at Fresno State got their degrees from Fresno State, even though the work was done here at CSU. And that kind of partnership is important because it allowed us to do something here that we did not have the capacity to do independently. But by partnering with Fresno State, we were able to move ahead
for me, one of the things that I was really excited was for the new president to be announced, the permanent president. So for me, I feel elated that you have such a wonderful leader who will be hiring other leaders that will be following in his vision and with his great character. And all of this will be good for our students because they'll see exemplary leaders in front of them at this university. I follow you every day in Cal State Bakersfield. I'm watching you in the clips for the CSU, and I'm always very proud when I saw about the leadership conference that finally we got off the ground. So that just made me cheer. And so you know, we're watching because we're so proud. And you know, I think both of us speak in one voice about how proud we are that President Harper is moving forward as your leader for the next chapter.
Absolutely.
We have one final question, and then we'll have some closing remarks from the provost.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Mike Kwan. Welcome back, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Zelezny. Such a privilege and honor to have you both back. Dr. Mitchell, I won't hold a grudge when you didn't list me as your favorite ASI person. We won't talk about that. I know I held us in the room, but that's okay. My question to you both is, reflecting back on your first year as president of CSUB, what are some ways or things that the campus supported you both with that now we can support Dr. Harper with during his first year?
Can I start? The campus came together as one to develop the strategic plan that was built upon Dr. Mitchell's strategic plan. We had our 5-year plan. We had forums where our leaders would show the progress on that strategic plan. And now it's time under Dr. Harper, President Harper, for a new strategic plan. So it would be important to follow that inclusive process and to, again, forge the next chapter in innovation and in student engagement.
It would be easy for me to say ditto again, because I agree with that. Student government, to me, has always been very important. And, you know, listening to students and hearing what you have to say just makes a difference in the university. And I would encourage students to continue to come up with ideas, even though they might not be accepted immediately, because sometimes people are just not ready for certain things. Okay? But it's important not to drop them, and because it takes all of us being creative to be able to realize what it is that we're trying to do. Okay, so keep it up.
Good evening. I'm James Rodriguez. I have the honor of serving as interim provost and vice president for academic affairs. And before I begin with a few brief closing remarks, can we please show our appreciation and thanks to both President Emeritus Mitchell and President Emeritus Zelezny one more time. This is truly an extraordinary moment. And I am honored to share a few brief closing remarks for what is an auspicious, defining, moment in the life of this university. This moment is special because of the return of President Emeritus Horace Mitchell and President Emeritus Lynnette Zelezny, along with the well-deserved recognition of their leadership and contributions, along with those of Dr. Tomás Arciniega. This moment is truly unique because it is a convergence between the past, the present, and our future, particularly with the recent appointment of President Harper. This moment provides us a special opportunity, an opportunity where we as a university can come together to reflect on the past, to pause, to be in the present, and to contemplate our collective future. This moment spotlights the purpose and mission of this university, and that the fulfillment and attainment of its mission, values, and goals must be through intentional collective efforts. Let us be inspired to make a difference by this convening and the presence and words of Drs. Mitchell and Zelezny. Let us be ever mindful of the past as we aspire to reach higher together towards a brighter future. Thank you. Have a good evening. There are refreshments, and I invite you to enjoy company with one another.